Okay, hello. So my name is Josef Buttigieg. I'm a professor at the University of Regina. I'm going to talk a little bit of my research to begin with, but more importantly is talking about some of the key aspects of a disease that's close and very common, unfortunately, here in Saskatchewan, which is multiple sclerosis. So before I get started with exactly what I'm doing in terms of multiple sclerosis research, I'm going to talk a little bit about what I am as a professor at the university. So does anyone know what a professor does typically? Sort of curious for the audience. Yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what is a professor?
Yeah, what does a professor
Well, they'll do a combination of research and in addition to lectures and classes, specializing in whatever.
That's exactly it. So I do a combination of research and I do a combination of teaching classes as well as some administrative items. So in terms of my overall research program, my title is a neurophysiologist. So my interest is on how the nervous system is put together, what happens during disease, and then when the nervous system is dysfunctional, how can we put it back together again. So my areas of expertise and interest are in obviously multiple sclerosis, which we'll talk about today, but my other side areas as well are stroke. So identifying precursors, you can identify a stroke prior to it occurring. Spinal cord injury, so what happens with spinal cord injury and how can we fix that. And my teaching sort of regimen is neurophysiology. Obviously, I'm a neurophysiologist, but also teach anatomy and physiology. I used to teach gross anatomy, so cadavers, dissection, that type of thing, for medical students at both U of T and McMaster University. So those are the other couple things, but I do a whole bunch of other stuff as well on the side. Obviously I'm a researcher. I farm just north of the city, just put that on there. I'm active in the rugby community, both play and coach, so some of you kind of see me in terms of that community as well. So I do a number of things other than just research and teaching. But let's talk about the topic of today. So today is about the nervous system and how it's put together and what happens during disease. So the basic unit of the nervous system is the neuron or nerve cell. I'm assuming most people have heard that at some point. So what we have over here is the cell body. We have the cell body or the nucleus, and that's the area that sort of takes information from the external environment. Then along that cell body, so we have our cell body over here, which takes information from the external environment. And then that gets relayed along something called an axon, which is basically a long fiber over here, to the next neuron. And then that neuron integrates that information and sends it over to the next neuron via an axon. So think of the axons as being wires, if you will. Okay, so it's taking information from one neuron and sending it to another. Now, an important or integral, if you will, component to this is what surrounds the axon itself. And what we call that is called a myelin sheath. So it's these fatty structures that surround that axon. And to give you sort of an analogy is think of a wire. When we look at a wire, the wire has this coating around it, right? And it's to prevent it from shorting out with other objects or structures. So we have these neurons which take information, send it down this axon that's myelinated or insulated, and it sends it to the next neuron and passes that information on. Now, when we look at the network, the way that your central nervous system is put together, it's this complex network of literally billions of these neurons and many billions and billions of connections between these axons and neurons that allows you to think and form a process to do things. Everything from eating food to talking to listening to falling asleep to everything that you do in life. The only time this ever stops is when you're dead. Now, when we look at this network, or this complex network, they flow along very defined paths inside your brain and the spinal cord. So what we have over here is what your central nervous system looks like. This is obviously your brain on the top. And this is where a lot of the integration, taking these external stimuli, taking these external influences and processing it comes to play. Then that information is sent down via your spinal cord. And along that spinal cord, you'll have these little fibers that come off of it. So very long axons that come off of this. And they go to your various appendages. So go to your skin, it goes to your muscles. And what ends up happening now is your brain tells your muscles to do something, and then the muscles or your skin relays information back. So if you want, you can test that over here. So what I need from everybody is 2 fingers. And hopefully you'll swing the side somewhat, okay? Now reach over to the person on your right and pinch him really hard on the shoulder. Your other right. You're gonna hit you really hard on the shoulder. Okay, I'm gonna stop. You don't have to keep pitching. I probably should have elaborated that point. But now my question to you is, what was the first stimulus that you encountered in that whole process? What was the first stimulus? Okay, what was the pain? Before that? Before that? Your ears. Well, I told you an information, right? I told you to do something. Your brain, okay, picked up the neural impulses from your hearing, right? It went to your higher cognitive components of your brain, so your forebrain, and processed that, okay? Do I really like that person? Are they going to punch me? Are they bigger than me? No, I can probably punch them. Or harder back. No, I'll pinch them. No, okay, yeah, I'll pinch them. And you pinch them. And so that whole process is only taking, fraction of a second. But that's where this whole process comes into play. And so you have all these fine neurons that are allowing you to take this integration from the external environment, being able to process things in a rapid manner, and then be able to do something with that, right? So I told you to do something, you listened, you processed it in your brain, went down your spinal cord, went to your arm, you pinched the person. Now the person that you pinched takes that information, okay, pinching my shoulder, it hurts, and that information goes back to the brain, and it forms a complete circuit. And that's how your central nervous system works. Now, unfortunately, what happens in multiple sclerosis is just breaks along the circuit. And predominantly what's happening here is this myelin sheath. So this myelin, like I told you before, protects the axon itself. It allows neurons to have these wires, if you will, really close to each other, so that you can have these very complex thought processes occurring. Unfortunately, what happens in multiple sclerosis is that this actually physically breaks down and starts to fall apart. Now, to give you an illustrative component of this, hopefully this works, but I don't know what to shoot myself. So I have this attached to a 12-volt battery. Okay. Now, if I touch these wires against each other, against the component that's insulated, there's no problem. So I can have the wires really close to each other, right? No problem. But what happens if I take these two ends? What's going to happen? Right? It's going to short out. And that's exactly what ends up happening with people with MS. Is you'll have these wires that are close to each other, they lose their insulation, and then that's happening. And it starts to short out. Now, information that's being sent to that off before I let you keep myself, that's always an impressive. Maybe I can bring over there for the body words afterwards. Professor that'll let you keep himself. So what ends up happening in MS is that for whatever reason, the body now, okay, the immune system starts to attack this myelin and it starts to break down that insulating fiber. So what the immune system normally does is it finds pathogens. So think of it as Pac-Man. I think everybody's seen Pac-Man at some point or played it at some point. So Pac-Man's going around into your immune cells and it's eating things that are considered to be foreign. Now, unfortunately, what happens with people with MS is that the Pac-Man, the immune cell, instead of thinking it starts to realize or starts to understand that the myelin is foreign, it starts to attack and destroy it. So unfortunately, what you end up with is this degradation of that insulating fiber. The neurons now start to short out, and then you end up with inability to move, inability to feel pain, and eventually, unfortunately, death. Now, Saskatchewan has the highest, not in Canada, but in the world, has the highest incidence rate of MS. And the reason for that? We don't know. Incidentally, ALS, so Lou Gehrig's disease, which is another similar or somewhat related disease, the highest incidence for that is in Manitoba. So a lot of these autoimmune diseases happens to be in the prairies, and we're not quite sure as to why it is. Could it be a previous infection? So maybe your immune system fought a previous infection that's predominant here in the prairies, and it recognizes that infection as being foreign and kills it off, but mistakes your myelin sheath as being foreign as well and kills it off, and then you end up with MS. Another possibility is environmental toxins. You're exposed to a lot of things over here. It's a very agricultural environment, so you're exposed to herbicides, pesticides, and more of these types of things. Maybe a herbicide or a pesticide tricks your immune system into thinking your myelin sheath is foreign. Or maybe it's genetics. So there's a lot of Ukrainian, German heritage individuals here in this province, or in the prairies specifically. Maybe it has something to do with the genes from those people that came here early in the 1900s that gives them a higher incidence or a higher likelihood of developing MS. Now, The prognosis of MS is unfortunate. You're going to end up dying, is basically what it comes down to. What they can do is prolong how long that takes for that inevitable outcome to occur and try to improve the quality of life. So one of them is suppressing the immune system. You know the immune system is destroying your myelin sheath, so let's just turn it off. But there's a problem with that. What's the problem? If I turn off the immune system, what's the problem with that? Yes?
You're more susceptible than others.
You're more susceptible to other diseases. So catching the common cold, you're going to get sick, right? So it's not the most desirable. One other one that they've started trying recently is filtering the blood. So you have these immune cells that are attacking the myelin sheath. Well, let's try to filter those out. Well, the problem is you have to keep coming back and back and back for the same treatment. Eventually, it stops working after a time. There's alternative therapies. So alternative therapies help deal with the symptoms. So taking, for example, medical marijuana. Well, it helps you deal with the pain. It helps you deal with the ability to move around. And then there's a nuclear option. So nuclear option is basically we wipe your immune system completely clean. You effectively have immunodeficiency. So you have no immune system. Wipe it clean, and then hopefully we'll restart it and it'll work. But again, that's it very early in the stage, and there's a big problem with that. You're 20, you're 30, you're 40, you're 50, however many years you're old. You've been exposed to 50 years worth of pathogens. Your body has learned how to deal with those pathogens. Now at 50, you wipe that memory clean. You got to start from scratch again. So everything from the common flu or common cold to the flu becomes very deadly to those individuals. You have to live in a bubble effectively. So unfortunately, none of these therapies treat the root cause. They sort of treat the symptoms. They sort of make the life a little bit better and that type of thing, in terms of dealing with pain and associated diseases with it. But eventually, the person's going to unfortunately die. So my idea and my research came up with sort of a twist on this. So the immune system is looking for myelin. Well, my answer to that is, well, why not give it myelin? There's a little bit of a twist. Has anyone heard of the story of Troy and the Trojan horse? Yeah, so can someone sort of give me a brief synopsis of it? What is it? What is the Trojan horse? Yes, in the back.
They pretty much they built a horse and they sent it into fortress where they were all inside, and then in the middle of the night they dropped out and pretty much attacked.
Very good. Yeah. So there was a battle between ancient Athens and ancient Troy. And what ends up happening is they couldn't destroy the walls of Troy. Just the walls were just way too thick, they're way too high. They spent many years trying to knock this down, they just couldn't do it. So one of the leaders of the Athenian camp came up with the idea, like, well, the Trojans really like horses. We'll just build a really huge horse and hide soldiers inside it. And then we'll all leave, or pretend we leave, and they'll just come out and pick up these horses and pick up this big horse statue and bring it in, and then our soldiers can attack and do their thing. That's what ends up happening. So my idea is to do the exact same thing, but to do this to the immune system. So if the immune system is looking for this insulating myelin, if it's looking for this myelin, then why not give it myelin? But in a sort of Trojan horse format. So what I've done, or what my groups have done, is we've developed a protein complex. So on one end of it, we have myelin, so this yellow dot, if you will. And at the other end of it, we have this death cue. So it's basically a protein that whatever cell picks it up is going to die. Okay, it's 100% guarantee. It's a signal that's ubiquitous, so meaning any cell that sees this commits suicide effectively and dies. And the trick to it is this central protein over here, which is basically a modified bacterial protein that we've identified. And it's an internalization cue. So the sort of model or the theory of how this works is you'll have an immune cell that comes along, sees the myelin. Oh, I mean, eat this up. So it eats it up. It's forced to pick up everything that's with it because of this internalization sequence, and the death cue kills the cell. So to give you a little sort of Pac-Man version of this, so you have your immune cell, and it's looking for myelin. It's looking for myelin to eat. And so it's going away, and it's eating the myelin, and it's doing what it normally does. And so unfortunately, that results in multiple sclerosis in that individual. But now if we give them this treatment with this myelin attached to this other cue, well, the immune cell eats it up, and it's game over for that cell. Now the neat thing about it is we've actually identified the cell that is causing the MS. We've deleted that cell that causes the MS. We've just cured the disease. Every time that cell keeps coming back, as long as that protein complex is present, knocks it out. You don't have the symptoms, you don't have the degradation of the myelin sheath, you don't have the paralysis, you don't have the death. And you just effectively cured it out. So with funding from INSERC, so there's a federal foundation that helps with funding research. We were able to demonstrate some of this proof of concept in other models. So using stem cells, we have to do the same thing with stem cells and actually tell them to turn into a particular cell phase. So we managed to do this with other cells. We're currently moving into animal models, so we're testing this on an MS model on mice, and just to look at whether it's going to cause any other diseases or kill the animal or whatnot. And so basically our preliminary data is very promising. It's showing that we can actually knock this down. So now the question is, can we take it over to that next step? And so right now we're seeking further partners, people that are willing to fund this research effectively to help this project and collaboration move along. Now the really neat thing about it is that when we're looking, well, I'm looking specifically at MS. So can we treat MS and that type of thing? But this works for any other autoimmune disease too. So things like type 1 diabetes, you probably know someone that has that. I know someone. Crohn's and celiac disease, myasthenia gravis, Goodpasture syndrome, and many others. These are all autoimmune diseases. It's the same idea. You have a rogue mutant cell that's going around and attacking the body when it's not supposed to. So for example, in diabetes, it's attacking your pancreas. Well, do the same thing that we just did in the previous slide, which is we take a pancreatic protein and an apoptotic protein, so a protein that says sort of that bomb thing, make that immune cell eat it, and just cure type 1 diabetes. Crohn's and celiac disease, reaction to gluten and that type of thing. Well, we just can fix that too. So long-term implications of this technology that we're developing here in Regina, here at the U of R specifically, is that we're able to actually treat not only our autoimmune systems, our autoimmune diseases such as MS, but we have the ability now to theoretically treat other autoimmune diseases and make a huge impact worldwide. So a lot of this is not me specifically doing the actual work and come up with the ideas and that type of thing. It's actually my research group or some of my research group that's actually instrumental at the U of R in actually performing these experiments. And my graduate students that are as well working on these topics. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I look forward to it.
Has there been any research regarding like the potash and the uranium and all the things that are mined and what Saskatchewan is rich for? Is there any correlation there or research?
So in terms of, so the question basically, I'm just going to repeat it so that that's also a webinar as well, so people can hear it online. So the question is whether like potash and the sort of natural resources which are present here in the province, does that have an effect on developing MS? And the answer is we don't know. Has there been research on it? As far as I know, no. But it's a possibility, especially when you look at uranium. Like when I moved here, because I'm not from Saskatchewan originally, well, originally, I guess you could say I'm from Malta, which is in the middle of the Mediterranean. Keep moving further west, eventually I'll end up in Japan, I think. But when I moved from Toronto to here, one of the first things that people told me is make sure you check for radon, because Saskatchewan is a very hot province in terms of like lots of radioactivity. It's a geological explanation, which is kind of cool. We don't talk about this stuff. But in terms of MS, theoretically, it could be a relationship. But my answer to that is I don't think there's any research that has been done on that specifically. None that I know of, at least. Yeah.
You mentioned that you're in kind of early stage prototyping the research. What's the time frame to get from early stage to something that might be consumable?
So what's the time frame for to get from where I'm at to something you can actually treat someone with? Correct. That. There's a lot of different steps. So to give you an idea, there's a lot of ethics that have been implemented since like the 1940s, 1950s, and for very good reasons. And again, I'm not going to get into too much detail with that. So there's many steps to make sure that you're giving something to the population that's not going to kill the population. Right? So the first steps are the preclinical studies, which takes about 2-3 years, which is where I'm at right now. And then you have your clinical studies, which takes, unfortunately, multi-millions of dollars to test it on the human population. So they test it on healthy people, they test it on diseased people, they look at for efficacy. There's a stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. That takes another 5 to 7 years, unfortunately, because they have to do a long-term process. You're looking at from this stage where we're at right now to actually making it into the market and making an impact, looking probably roughly about 10 years-ish.
And still lots of insert funding or other private funding that allows you to do that, or get to it. If you have enough money to go
from here, no, I don't have that money to go. So basically what it works out to is you come up with your sort of theory or idea. And that's sort of one step. And then you have to sort of bring up more funding to allow you for that other stage, and then so on and so forth. And if no one wants to fund you, then the effort dies. And what it comes down to, unfortunately, is like unless you have a private partner incorporated with it somehow, there's no money to be made on it. Forget it. And I'm very familiar with that, unfortunately, because I have patents for things that have made it to market, have things that are now at least phase 1B clinical trials. And so there's, like, I've seen things that have never made it to market, things that have made it to market and actually made an impact and everything in between. And so unfortunately it comes down to money. It basically comes down to both at the research stage and then for the company or its partner, do they make money out of it? So if they give me, for example, $100,000, are they going to make that money back in profits in the future? That becomes the problem.
Hi, thank you very much for the talk. It was very good.
Thanks.
Quick question though for you. How are you identifying the patients with MS? So obviously they have to have symptom presentation. They actually have to come to you, right? So are you going to genetically test everybody? Are you going to find a specific population within Saskatchewan that this would actually work on? Because the problem that I see is that patients will have symptom presentation, then you would come along and you would clean up the autoimmunity the problem, right? But the myelin sheath that has already been damaged, you cannot.
Very good question.
You cannot prevent the damage that's already occurred. You're just trying to prevent what's about to happen.
So no, it's a very good question. So the question basically is, and I forgot to talk about that too, where you have a person with MS, they'll have symptoms, and then they end up going to remission, and then they'll come back into symptoms again, right? And they keep doing that cycle. Well, what ends up happening, and again, no one knows why this happens, is your immune system becomes active, and it actually destroys the myelin sheath. But then for whatever reason, the immune system shuts itself down. Now, what happens to that myelin sheath that you just destroyed? It actually repairs itself. It has the ability to repair itself.
On every type of stage that the MS
Well, no.
can present.
So
there's
5
several,
stages.
that's
Yeah,
exactly
exactly.
it. There's 5 stages.
So the early stages, you can actually induce that stem cell pool to actually repair the lost myelin. But unfortunately, what ends up happening with people that are chronic, or in late stage, well, the stem cell pool has already disappeared at that point. Again, so this goes to my other research, which is actually turning on that stem cell pool. I haven't talked about that here because it's not tied to today's topic, but that's my sort of general interest is, okay, with MS, can we stop the disease? Because for me, if I give someone that has MS stem cells and fix it, well, I'm just fixing the symptoms. I'm just fixing the symptoms. I'm not actually fixing what's causing the MS. So for me, the first stage is, okay, let's shut off what's causing the MS. So let's turn off that immune system completely. Well, the mutated immune system, turn that off completely. And now turn on the stem cell pool to replace that. So it's sort of a 2-stage component to this.
But the problem is identifying those patients that start to have symptoms that don't actually seek treatment.
Oh, well.
Right?
Yeah.
And then you will have no control over the time frame of when they present and how much actual myelin damage has occurred.
Yeah, so and even if they've come now with extensive myelin damage and extensive myelin loss, my argument is we're shutting down the immune system or shutting off the mutated immune system. But my other technology, it uses something of similar sort of turning on and turning off of genes and that type of thing, which is what we're doing over here. So we can use that actually now to replace that myelin. So I'm going to sort of put on my other hat as a stem cell biologist. And so what I can tell you what we can do in the lab, and I don't have pictures on this, but I have pictures on my laptop to show it, is we can take neurons that have no myelin, that have lost all their myelin, that have no oligodendrocytes, which form the myelin around them, and we can actually myelin and fix it. So there's actually two steps to this technology. What I'm showing today is just strictly this part of the technology because fix the MS. So for someone, for example, that's an acute phase, so for example, the first stage, second stage, or something like that, well, you give them this, and they walk away, it's no problem. You don't have to worry about it. But if you're in stage 5 or in the later stage now, well, we can shut this off now, but use the technology, the other technology that we've developed, which is turning on these stem cells, pools that you have in your body, fix it. Well, we've still solved the disease because now we've shut off the immune system, we've repaired the immune system, or repaired the damage that's been done. It's good. So we can use this technology because, well, just again, when I talk about spinal cord injury and MS are actually closely related in terms of the disease model. And so the technology that I'm using is actually translatable into like several different states. So you can actually use the same technology to repair the myelin sheath, to repair the spinal cord, or to repair stroke, which is where all my 3 come into play. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, in the back.
Have you looked at the correlation?
Have I looked at the correlation between the two? No, it's a good question. Actually, this lady over here in the center, let's see if we can find. There we go. This lady over here with the glasses is my postdoctoral fellow, Dr. Jacobson, or she was my postdoctoral fellow. She ended up working with that. She started training with another research lab, but she wants to look at that specifically, look at the correlation between Lyme disease. She came up with that idea actually. So looking at, okay, what's the correlation between Lyme disease and MS? Is there, getting bit by a tick? Does that give you a higher incidence or higher rate of developing MS as a result? So she's actually looking at that. Yes, sir, correct.
I would assume those immune cells that are attacking the myelin have positive benefits and not specific to just the nerve cell.
Well, I'm giving sort of the layman's explanation of this. So with your immune cells, there's many different flavors, and then of those flavors, there's many different flavors on top of that too. So there's much more complexity to it. So to give you sort of the next level is you'll have immune cells that are specific for, let's say, influenza. So they just fight and know how to fight influenza, and that's fine. You have immune cells that recognize strictly bacterial infections. And when I say bacterial, I mean like, one's bacterial strain. So E. coli, another one will attack Salmonella, another one will attack typhoid, whatever it happens to be, right? So you have many different flavors of stem cell or immune cells inside your body that can attack these different organs. But what happens if you have now, we have different strains of influenza in the environment? So what happens if it's H1N1 has the same shape as myelin? Well, now this cell kills H1N1, but also kills myelin at the same time for whatever reason. And so what we're doing is shutting off that specific one.
I was wondering how you quantify how much of that killer protein you give without, compromising the immune system.
And that's the idea over here is that the current technologies that are out there is we just wipe the immune system clean. We kill every single immune cell and you start from scratch. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean that you actually destroyed all the immune cells. Whereas this technology is we're taking what the immune cells are targeting inadvertently, which is something they shouldn't be targeting, and then killing just those ones. So it's very, very targeted. So, for example, let's say you had your shot for H1N5, I think it was for last year, or H2N5 for last year. Well, if you unfortunately had MS, the current treatment is we'll just wipe your slate clean, and you have to relearn that influenza virus. Whereas with my technology over here, we just shut down that particular flavor. We have the ability to take sort of a sniper approach. We can attack just that one individual cell and nothing else. Yes, in the back.
Have you proposed any other theories to solve MS or other conditions?
What do you mean by proposing other?
Because you have this idea of the Trojan horse, but do you have any other ideas to solve it?
Well, the Trojan horse, the idea that we came up with this is, well, again, the collaboration we had with another collaborator, which is called Regina, it's a biotech firm. And they had a technology to internalize proteins. And so our thought was, okay, well, what if we attach this to like a whole protein complex and try to treat MS? Now, are there other theories out there? Like I've had publications, like for example, the Zamboni theory with venous drainage from the brain. That one I published a paper like shortly after it came out and called it unfortunate that it's not. The scientific fact doesn't back it up. The physiology, my understanding of physiology, does not back it up. In this case over here, what I'm looking at specifically is, okay, what the actual problem is. Well, the problem is the immune cell. Okay, how can we get rid of just that immune cell without targeting everything else? So this technology, to a certain extent, or this sort of theory to a certain extent, is actually starting to be used for cancer. So you can take a cancer protein that's specific to cancer and attack just that cancer cell. Well, let's see if we can modify this somehow and then use it just to attack autoimmune cells. So that's sort of the framework that we're going from with this one. So are there other technologies? Yeah, there might be. I don't know how effective they would be, but everything that I've seen so far, at least that's been published or been used or in clinical stages, is exactly as I said. We just wipe out the immune system and we start from scratch. Or we suppress the immune system. Neither of those cases really deals with the sort of the end result, which is we need to get rid of that sort of precursor cell and destroy that cell and prevent it from coming back again. Other questions on the web? I don't know how that goes.
I was waiting very patiently. I just wanted to touch on the collaborative aspect. So you mentioned collaborating with a biotech firm that had some technology that you could utilize in your Trojan horse idea. What other collaborations are part of your work under whichever of the hats that you wear doing your research? What other collaborations contribute along the way?
So other collaborations that I have. So when I came here again to the U of R, a lot of people have, and I might be mistaken about this for today's public or audience, but a lot of the impression that I got when I came here at the U of R was that it's a lot of people look at it as being strictly a liberal arts university. You don't do any biomedical health research, or you don't do any health research to begin with. So what I ended up doing when I came here late in 2011, 2012, was sort of reach out to the RQHR, so reach out to a lot of the physicians and surgeons at the hospital and look at working with people over there that have interest in this area. So for example, neurosurgeons or neurologists that have a specific interest with spinal cord injury or traumatic brain injury or MS. And so I work with a couple of people with that. With regards to stroke, I work with vascular surgeons, so the vascular team at the Regina General Hospital, Dr. David Capriva, Dr. Don McCarville, and so on and so forth. I work with a lot of those people as well. So in terms of collaboration, what I'm trying to do is bring in people with different sort of resources and different skill sets that can actually put it together. So I come here as a biomedical scientist. I don't have access to the people or to the patients to begin with, but if I work with the physicians, now the physicians have someone that can develop a treatment for their patients, and they can give me their expertise in terms of what's realistic for those patients, what's realistic delivery mechanism or something along those lines. And then having the tie-in with a biotech firm or a biopharmaceutical company. Now the advantage now is I can take whatever I have and bring it out to market and actually distribute it to the population. So I'm always looking for these different connections between these different groups. I'll think of it as an octopus, if you will. You know, we're trying to reach out to these different groups that can bring everybody together under sort of a uniform banner. Because like you have a physician saying, gosh, I really wish there was a treatment for MS, or gosh, you know, I wish there was an effective treatment for spinal cord injury, but there's no one here that's actually doing anything like that. Whereas, you know, I have the biomedical components, like, gosh, I really wish I can have this access to the patients to actually be able to test this out. Well, me coming here, I managed to reach out to a lot of these people, sort of bringing in under sort of uniform umbrella. Now, I was trying to convince the rest of the Canadian public in order to sort of fall in with that. It's a different scenario. But at least over here in Regina, one of the nice things, like when I came here initially, one of the people said to me, "Is like, you're gonna be so isolated. Like you're not in the center of the universe anymore." So I'm from Toronto, so you're not in the center of the universe anymore. You're in the middle of nowhere. Like, you might as well be on Mars at this point. And I said, well, there's an opportunity at least in that case, because now I'm not working under someone that's been doing the same research for the last 40 years, the last 30 years, and is not willing to try something new. Well, over here, it's never been done. And the technology, or so the impression of people over here is very much a pioneering spirit. It's like, let's give it a shot. Why not? Or the other one, here, hold my beer. Don't do that one. I picked up that one when I came here to Saskatchewan, by the way. So, but it's just sort of that sort of pioneering mentality over here, which I think is phenomenal. It's sort of that hidden gem that people don't actually realize about Saskatchewan to begin with. It's that pioneering spirit. So, let's try something different. I was speaking with a vascular surgeon, Dr. David Capriva. He didn't even know I existed here because I came in 2012. And he just said, okay, you know what, I have this really cool idea in terms of stroke identification. Can we identify stroke before it actually happens? And he just sent a random email to the U of R. He asked, does anyone have a piece of equipment? My department head said, hey, Joe, do you have this piece of equipment? I said, yeah, it's older than me, but it works. Let's try it. And we went down this path, and now we went down that rabbit tunnel, if you will, and it's opened up a whole new sort of realm. So going back to your original question, which is, what type of collaborations? I'm looking for collaborations and other people that have that sort of same interest with me to be able to try something different. It's been good so far, is basically what it comes down to. So,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome. We'll go work further west, I guess, this way.
So you've developed like this protein that essentially cures MS. How do you actually administer that to like a patient or a test subject?
So the question is, how do you actually administer it to a patient or a test subject? It would be an IV injection.
Okay.
So it's strictly just putting it into your circulatory system, because this is where the immune cells are going to be located anyways to begin with. And then from there, it would go through the patient and start whatever immune cells are inside that. Like going back to that Pac-Man, where, yeah. There's no Pac-Man slide, there we go. So imagine sort of that tunnel that you're seeing over here as being your circulatory system. Well, your immune cell and everything is going through that immune circulatory system. Well, we just give that protein in there, and then it will just rip that in. Question is that.
Regretfully, I was in the wrong time. I would like to see your presentation. But I'm curious to know, have you collaborated with, or are you collaborating with the Chemical MS Neuroscience Research Center in Saskatchewan?
So the question is, am I collaborating with the Chemical Research Center in Saskatchewan? And the answer is, unfortunately, no, not at the moment. And again, sort of reach out to these individuals, like say, hey, I have a cool idea. There's a little bit of politics that are involved with it. These people in Saskatchewan don't look too much in farm. Lack of better words. Not everyone does. Now, the head of it initially, her name was Dr. Valerie Burge. Correct. Very open to it. But unfortunately, she's been out of commission now for the last couple months, or sorry, year, I think. She had surgery. Sorry?
She's back to work.
Oh, she's back to work now? Okay, she was off for a little bit, unfortunately. Now, have I reached out to them regarding this specific technology? The answer is no. But it's something that I'm looking forward to. Any other questions? Sorry, I must see. Okay, sorry. I just a lot of glare.
No, I
here.
think it's slow. To mention that there might, like, you don't know why that's the product or anything, but we know it has a high prevalence here in Saskatchewan. And then you mentioned like a lot of immigrants, like Ukraine and Germany and things like that. Do autoimmune diseases affect indigenous populations as much? Is that ever really been looked at or not?
As far as I know, I don't know if anyone's actually looked at that. It's a very good question. I don't know. And I'm only throwing this out in terms of, the different hypotheses that have been thrown out. And again, this is actually from like one of the chemical research projects up in Saskatchewan, which was, okay, maybe it's something to do with the pesticides that are in the environment, and this is affecting people. And when it comes to indigenous health, I'm not 100% certain. Like, I don't think anyone's looked at it. Like, as far as I know, it's to put it, it's a Caucasian type disease. It typically affects that. It doesn't affect other minorities as heavily as it does people from like Northern Europe. So, for example, African community, Middle Eastern communities such as myself, that type of thing. Those individuals, it doesn't affect them as heavily. Now, whether they move here and then it affects them, I don't know. But then again, a lot of those new immigrants that are coming to the province, they've only come here in the last 15, 20 years. Many of them, from my understanding, there's been a huge population surge in the last 15, 20 years. So whether they're going to be affected by it, I don't know. Now, where it comes down to indigenous health, I don't think it affects them as much. But then I can't say that with 100% certainty. I don't know if anyone's looking at it. Like, I know at least at U of R, no one's no one that I know looks at that in that context. Typically, the health crises that they're looking at for Indigenous health would be, for example, like there's mental health being one, but then there's also like type 1 diabetes and vascular disease, which also tends to affect those types of communities more heavily than others. So that's the type of research, whereas where it comes to autoimmune disease and autoimmune type research, I don't think that's been as heavily Indigenous communities. Is there more questions from the web, or no? We're good.
Well,
For your time, if you have any other interest, you can find my information online on the UFR Biology webpage. Just look up my name, Joe. Yeah, which is like the least amount of hair on there. So look myself up on that, and by all means, reach out. I'm always looking to reach out to the community on that. One of the other things that I've done recently is work in collaboration with other health researchers at the UFR, and established a pub series at Bushwhackers. I don't know if some people, well, not the high school kids, but probably the teachers and the supervisors might have heard of that. Every third Thursday, well, the last one was yesterday, so we're off for the summer, but starting in September, it's every third Thursday. There's what we call the Bushwhackers Science Club series. And there's two versions of it. So there's one that deals with sort of the science, and there's one that deals with sort of the health science component. And the health science component is health research, good for what ails you. Ails, like ale, drink. Okay, so all right, it's mine. It's supposed to be lame. I'm a professor. I'm supposed to be lame. Okay, and it's my lame joke. I'm gonna stick with that. But that's basically, we do this every third Thursday, and we talk about everything from MS to stroke to cancer. And then the idea basically is, and the idea that I had with this is to make sure that it's a rounded sort of approach in terms of discussing health research. So we'll have the person like myself, the biomedical health researcher, the guy with the test tubes and injecting things in patients, give one part of the talk. And then we'll have the other individual, and he or she will give a talk on sort of the effects on the population. So one, for example, would be looking at like the talk that I gave about a year ago, which is looking at stroke. So I talk about the identification of stroke and that type of thing. And the other individual talks about, well, coping with stroke as a rural farmer, or as a First Nations individual on the reserve. And so we sort of bring sort of the whole health component, because like when you think of health, it's not a matter of, okay, you're sick, we give you a pill and you're cured. There's people that have to deal with this, and there's a lot of hurdles that people have to deal with, whether they're on a reserve north of PA, or whether they're a farmer, you know, out in Pontiac. You know, how do they get health care access and all of those type of things. So we try to bring that sort of whole health components to it. And so that's every third Thursday on Bushwhackers.
Okay, so how would somebody find out which topics are when? Is there a website? Is there
yeah, so in terms of which topics are when, if you go on the UFR website, typically they'll have a highlight on what's being discussed. The other one is if you go on the Bushwhackers Facebook page and Twitter and everything else that they do on Bushwhackers, they'll talk about, okay, what's being shown or what's going to be discussed. So it talks about like a lot of the health research and research in general is done here at the UFR. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm biased, obviously, but I think it's pretty neat. Usually those sessions finish are packed about half an hour before the actual session starts, so they're pretty well attended. But if you become a drinking age, you want to see that. Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah.